Ex-farmer inherits an abandoned starport, then its true owner shows up. He had plowed fields, harvested grain, and cared for his small herd of livestock. The sky was wide, the soil fertile, and the days predictable. That was until the day he received the letter. It had arrived in a metal envelope, cold and unexpected, stamped with the seal of the Interstellar Legal Bureau. Jaren had laughed at first. Probably some scam, he muttered to himself as he sliced it open. But as he read, his eyebrows knit in disbelief. His uncle, a distant relative he barely remembered, had left him an inheritance. A starport, abandoned, located at the edge of the outer rim. The letter detailed the starport's coordinates, legal ownership documents, and the unexpected burden of responsibility now resting on Jaren's shoulders. A starport. Not a plot of land, not a farm, but a massive, silent station that had once seen fleets of ships, merchants, and explorers pass through its docking bays. Jaren stared at the holomap included in the letter. The starport floated in orbit around a small, rocky planet, its silhouette almost invisible against the blackness of space. "Who would leave something like this to a farmer?" he whispered aloud. "And why me?" Jaren was a man of practical mind, though. He packed what he could, a few crates of personal belongings, some spare clothes, his old tools, and a small blaster for protection. He left behind the comforts of Kesara, trading the familiar planes for a shuttle that would take him to the unknown. The journey was long, crossing uncharted routes where few travelers dared. Outer rim space was a wild place. Pirates, scavengers, and storms of cosmic radiation made every trip risky, but Jaren had no other choice. He felt an odd mixture of excitement and fear. The world he knew would end where the stars began. When he first saw the starport, it looked like a ghost. Massive docking bays stretched like open jaws, panels of metal pitted with age, and a faint glow of lights flickered along corridors that had not seen life in decades. Dust swirled in zero-gravity pockets, floating like tiny stars inside the station. Jaren landed his shuttle carefully on a reinforced landing pad. The engines hummed as they shut down. Silence engulfed him. The starport was immense, but it was empty. Every sound he made echoed through long, hollow halls. He opened the shuttle doors and stepped onto the metal floor. The air smelled faintly of burnt circuits and oil. His boots clanged as he walked toward the central control tower, the heart of the station. There an AI core lay dormant, a cube of black metal etched with strange symbols. It stirred as he approached. "Welcome, authorized operator," a voice said suddenly. Jaren jumped. The voice was calm, mechanical, but with a strange warmth. "Identity verified, Jaren Tallow." "Ownership confirmed. Access granted." Jaren blinked. "I own this?" he asked aloud. The AI responded with a soft hum. "Ownership verified. Systems operational at 63%. Environmental controls stable. Docking bays functional. Defense systems in low-power standby mode." Defense systems. Jaren frowned. This station had weapons. Ships docked here once, but who had attacked it or why it had been abandoned, he did not know. He wandered further, exploring cargo bays and corridors lined with rusted machinery. Crates were scattered about, some containing tools, others filled with supplies from decades past. Then he found the log room. Holographic screens lit up as he brushed dust from the controls. He saw the records of the starport's past, traffic from alien ships, interstellar trade agreements, even encrypted messages hinting at military use. Something about this station was more than a simple dock. It had power, importance, and secrets. Hours passed. Jaren felt the excitement of discovery mixed with unease. He was not a soldier nor a trader. He was a farmer. Yet here he was, standing in a station that had once been alive with fleets. He started to explore the automated systems. The AI guided him gently. "Shall I bring environmental controls online fully?" "Do it," he said cautiously. He walked through corridors as lights flickered to life, air circulating steadily. Some systems still groaned and hissed, relics of their old function. It was magnificent and terrifying all at once. By the time he finished exploring the main control deck, Jaren had discovered hidden chambers, storage rooms with unclaimed supplies, and a docking bay large enough to house ships much bigger than his own shuttle. The starport was a fortress in disguise, abandoned but ready for life or war. As he checked the AI's records, a strange alert appeared on the main screen. A message flashed: unauthorized access detected, ownership claim disputed, preparing retrieval protocol. Jaren froze. His heart raced. He looked out of the viewport and saw a ship emerging from hyperspace. Sleek, black, and ominous, it bore the insignia of a powerful interstellar corporation known for claiming unregistered or abandoned assets by force. The true owner, or so it seemed, had come. Jaren's mind raced. He had no army, no weapons, no experience with space battles. All he had was himself and this ancient station. He looked at the AI, whose lights pulsed steadily as if watching him carefully. I guess we're doing this together," he muttered. The starport seemed to hum in response. Lights blinked along the corridors and docking bay doors began to seal. Defense systems whirred softly. Jaren realized the station might not just be abandoned, it was waiting. Waiting for someone to claim it, to understand it, to protect it. He spent the night exploring the deepest chambers, finding supply caches, maintenance logs, and old schematics etched into holopads. Among them, he found notes about hidden ship hangars, defensive turrets, and cloaking technology. The station had been designed to resist seizure, to survive under attack, and possibly to protect something, or someone, within it. As he worked, he felt a strange connection forming between himself and the station. He had always been practical, grounding himself in the soil of Kesara. But now, floating among stars, he felt a new sense of purpose. Perhaps, he thought, humans were underestimated in this galaxy for a reason. No one expected a simple farmer to unlock secrets no soldier had understood. The next morning, the corporate ship drew closer. Its engines flared against the blackness, casting a shadow across the starport's hull. Jaren stood at the viewport, hands pressed to the cool glass. He could see figures moving inside the enemy ship, soldiers, engineers, and negotiators, all confident they could take the station. Jaren swallowed hard. He had never fought anyone, never held command of anything larger than a farm crew. But as he looked around at the starport, alive with lights and potential, he felt a spark of courage. He was a human. He was clever. He could adapt. And perhaps, just perhaps, that was enough. The AI whispered softly, almost like a friend. "Threat detected. Defensive protocols ready. Awaiting your command." Jaren nodded. "All right," he said quietly, determination settling over him like a cloak. "Let's see what we can do." Above, the corporate ship paused, scanning, unaware that the station they thought empty was alive, ready, and commanded by a human who had nothing to lose. The stars around them seemed to shimmer as though acknowledging the first move of a quiet, unfolding battle. And in that moment, Jaren understood one thing clearly. The galaxy underestimated humans, but he was about to show them just how wrong they were. The first day at the abandoned starport ended not with defeat or surrender, but with preparation, discovery, and a growing understanding that he was not alone. The station was alive with hidden potential, and together, Jaren and the starport were ready to face whatever came next. As night fell across the outer rim, the corporate ship remained in orbit, waiting, confident. But Jaren smiled faintly, feeling the pulse of the station beneath his feet. He was a farmer, yes, but a human, and humans were not so easily taken. The message flashed again on the main console. Retrieval protocol initiated. Warning, authorized owner unconfirmed. Jaren laughed softly. "We'll see about that." And with that, the first seeds of a battle and a legend were planted in the empty halls of the starport. Jaren Tal woke to the steady hum of the starport systems. The lights glowed softly, illuminating corridors that had been dark for decades. Outside, the corporate ship remained in orbit, silent but menacing. Its dark hull reflected the faint starlight, making it look like a predator circling its prey. Jaren had spent the night exploring more of the station. He had discovered hidden maintenance tunnels, storage rooms with decades-old supplies, and even a hangar large enough to hide multiple ships. Each discovery made him feel a little more confident. This was not just an abandoned station, it was a fortress, waiting for someone to understand it. The AI, which had introduced itself as Core, monitored every system and assisted quietly. Its calm voice had become familiar, almost comforting. Threat detected in orbit, Core reported. Sensors indicate active scanning and movement preparations. They are preparing for boarding. Jaren ran his hand over the console. He had never fought anyone in his life. His hands were more used to plowing soil than handling weapons or commanding a station. Yet he realized something very important. The corporation expected him to be weak, to surrender. They had underestimated him. And humans, he thought, often thrived when underestimated. First contact, a loud boom reverberated through the docking bays as the corporation deployed its first wave of assault drones. Small, fast-moving machines darted toward the station, scanning for weaknesses. Jaren leaned over the controls, heart pounding, and listened to Core's calm guidance. Deploy automated defense turrets, Core suggested. Target drones on approach trajectory. Jaren hesitated only for a moment before pressing the sequence. Hidden turrets along the walls rotated, their barrels glinting under the station lights. Within seconds, several drones were disabled, shredded by precise laser fire. That worked, Jaren whispered, a small smile breaking across his face. He felt the rush of excitement. This was a test, a challenge, and he was proving capable. The corporate ship responded by launching a larger squadron of drones, faster and more heavily armored. Jaren studied the layout of the station. He had spent the night memorizing corridors, maintenance shafts, and hidden control panels. His plan was simple: use the station to its full advantage. Core interfaced with the navigation systems, opening maintenance tunnels and automated doors. Alternative paths for flanking available, it advised. You may confuse them and gain control advantage. Jaren nodded. Do it. Human ingenuity. As the drones advanced, the station's hidden systems came alive. Automated doors slammed open, redirecting drones into narrow corridors where turret fire could hit multiple targets at once. Hidden nets and barriers sprang from walls, tangling machines in cables. The AI even activated small maintenance drones, which swarmed the intruders like swarms of wasps, damaging sensors and motors. Jaren realized he was thinking like a general. Every hallway was a choke point. Every docking bay could be a trap. He began to feel proud of himself, not just as a human, but as someone capable of commanding a station that many thought impossible to control. The first wave of drones was destroyed, but the corporation was not done. Their second wave was larger, equipped with heavier shields and energy disruptors. They began targeting the Starport's power systems. A direct hit could disable the station and leave him defenseless. Jaren took a deep breath. We need to think smarter, he muttered. They have strength, but we have knowledge. He activated old cargo transport pods, using them as decoys. The pods moved along programmed paths, drawing the drones away from the station's main systems. Core monitored everything, calculating trajectories, feeding information to Jaren. Together, human and AI formed a team no one could have predicted. The drones were clever, but Jaren was cleverer. He used the station's ancient security protocols, some of which had been designed by humans centuries ago, to confuse the enemy. Energy shields flickered on and off, lights flashed to mislead sensors, and secret corridors allowed him to outmaneuver the drones at every turn. For hours the battle continued. Jaren's shuttle was useless in the fight, but the station itself had become his weapon. Every move he made demonstrated something the galaxy had forgotten. Humans were adaptable, resourceful, and unpredictable, unexpected allies. Meanwhile, outside the station, news of the standoff began to spread. Traders and independent pilots in the Outer Rim had picked up the conflict on their communications arrays. They had heard rumors of an abandoned starport and now saw a human, alone, defending it against one of the most powerful corporations in the sector. Curiosity turned into support. Small ships arrived, bringing supplies, drones, and tools. None dared attack the corporation, but they were willing to provide aid to the human who had outsmarted them so far. Jaren was surprised. He had always been used to working alone, with only his farm and his own hands. Now, he was part of something larger. A small fleet of allies hovered in orbit, ready to support him. But even without them, he realized the most important ally was himself and the station. Core hummed quietly. Humans' problem-solving abilities remain unmatched in certain scenarios, it observed. Jaren laughed. I guess that's me. The truth of the starport as the corporation prepared a boarding party, Jaren dug deeper into the station's records. Logs revealed that the starport had been built by humans centuries ago, long before humanity had been considered a serious power in the galaxy. It had been designed as a frontier hub, a place where humans could survive, adapt, and resist any force. Hidden compartments, advanced defenses, and secret hangars were all part of a design that leveraged human ingenuity. The station had been abandoned only because the human engineers had moved on, leaving the station in a dormant state, but ready for someone who understood its secrets. Jaren felt a deep connection to his ancestors. They had thought ahead, designing something that could survive against superior enemies. And now, that design had chosen him, or maybe it had simply waited for a human to prove worthy. This station was made for humans, Jaren said softly. Not by force, not by power, but by thinking, by outsmarting the odds. Core hummed in agreement. It is optimized for human operation. The retrieval force underestimates this fact. Corporate boarding attempt by evening, the corporate ship launched its boarding party. Armored soldiers in reinforced suits advanced in small teleportation pods, aiming to secure key systems. Jaren watched on the monitors, his pulse racing. Don't panic, he told himself. We have the advantage. The station responded as though alive. Doors locked automatically behind the soldiers, cutting them off from support. Turrets flared, forcing them into narrow corridors. Automated drones attacked with precision, forcing them to retreat or risk destruction. Jaren realized something amazing. The corporation had numbers, firepower, and technology, but humans had imagination. Each defensive maneuver, each clever trick, forced the invaders to rethink their strategy. The soldiers regrouped, communicating frustration across encrypted channels. How is this station still functional? One of their leaders demanded. And why is the human using it like a general? Jaren smirked. Because I know it, I can think, I can adapt, and I'm human. A narrow escape. The boarding attempt failed, but Jaren knew it was only temporary. The corporation was ruthless and they would return with more force. The AI whispered, strategic withdrawal protocols may be necessary if escalation continues. Consider options. Jaren shook his head. No, we fight smarter, not run. He began preparing. Using the station's hidden hangars, he repositioned drones and supply pods, creating traps that would force any next wave of attackers into kill zones. He reprogrammed maintenance bots to act as decoys, moving unpredictably through corridors. Every system, every resource became a tool in his hands, and through it all he remained calm. He had never led an army, never commanded a station, never faced a corporate fleet, but he was human. He could think. He could adapt. And that, as Core reminded him, was a strength no number of soldiers could match. Cliffhanger ending of Part 2. As night fell across the outer rim, the corporate fleet regrouped in orbit. Their soldiers returned to the ship, calculating, frustrated, unaware that the human had already anticipated many of their moves. Jaren stood in the control deck, his eyes scanning the starfield. He was exhausted but exhilarated. He had survived the first assault. He had discovered the station's hidden potential, and he had proven that a single human, armed with cleverness and courage, could hold off a powerful fleet. The AI's voice cut through the hum. Threat analysis. Next wave expected within 24 hours. Probability of success increases if further defenses and strategies are applied. Jaren nodded. Then we'll be ready. We'll show them humans are not so easy to control. Outside, the corporate ship hung like a dark cloud, unaware that it was already walking into a trap. Inside, a former farmer smiled faintly, feeling a strange sense of pride and purpose. The battle was far from over, but one truth had become clear. Humans were underestimated for a reason, and that mistake would cost anyone who dared challenge them. And somewhere deep in the starport, lights pulsed along hidden corridors, as if the station itself agreed. It had found its rightful operator. The outer rim stars glimmered cold and distant, but inside the abandoned starport, a quiet storm was brewing. Jaren Tallow stood in the control deck, scanning the approaches from the corporate fleet. Their warship loomed like a black mountain, engines glowing faintly in the dark. The corporation had regrouped overnight. Their soldiers were trained, disciplined, and well-equipped. But Jaren had learned something in the previous battle. They underestimated him. They assumed he was a farmer, a lone human with no experience in warfare or strategy. That assumption was their first and most critical mistake. He looked at Core, the station's AI, whose lights pulsed rhythmically. "Are we ready?" Jaren asked. "Systems fully operational, defensive protocols optimized. Hidden capabilities are prepared for deployment. All secondary systems online," Core replied. "Humans' ingenuity remains a variable no algorithm can fully predict." Jaren smiled faintly. "Then let's remind them what humans are capable of." Preparation and strategy. For the first time, Jaren felt like a commander. He was no longer reacting, he was planning. He studied the station's full layout, memorized hidden corridors, and identified every possible trap and ambush point. Maintenance drones were reprogrammed for tactical use, cargo pods were arranged to act as moving shields, and secret turrets were positioned for maximum effect. Jaren's plan was simple in principle but complex in execution. The corporation would strike expecting a straightforward fight. They would meet nothing but clever maneuvers, unexpected defenses, and confusion at every turn. Every move he made relied not on brute force, but human adaptability, the same quality that had allowed farmers to survive in harsh worlds for generations. Core assisted, calculating probabilities and suggesting sequences, but it was Jaren's choices that mattered. Every decision reflected instinct, observation, and the quiet stubbornness that had defined humanity for centuries. The corporation strikes. The attack began just after dawn, with the corporate flagship moving into firing position. Boarding pods launched again, faster and more numerous than before. Jaren watched on the viewscreen as pods approached, calculating timing and paths in his head. He activated the station's cloaking modules, something he had discovered in the deepest hangars. Portions of the starport vanished from sensors, appearing as empty space. Pods entered corridors expecting to find open paths, and were met with sudden doors slamming shut, narrow passageways that led them straight into turrets, or maintenance drones swarming like metallic hornets. The corporation was stunned. "How is this possible?" one of their officers shouted. "It's a ghost. Where is the human hiding?" Jaren, standing calm at the helm, whispered to himself, "Not hiding, just using my head." Clever traps and ambushes. The station had more secrets than even Jaren knew at first. Hidden hangars contained dormant drones, ancient weapon systems, and even small escape crafts. Using cargo pods as decoys, he drew the corporate forces into corridors that had been rigged to trap them. Magnetic nets rose from the floors, energy pulses scrambled their sensors, and hidden laser turrets fired with precision. Every maneuver worked like clockwork. The corporate soldiers had experience, yes, but their expectations were linear. They expected direct force. They had never faced a human thinking 3 moves ahead, using the environment itself as a weapon. Some of the corporate ships attempted orbital maneuvers to bypass the starport's defenses, but Jaren had anticipated this. Automated orbital mines and defensive drones lurked in hidden positions around the station, disabling ships and forcing them back into the kill zones he had prepared. Even Core seemed impressed. Your strategies demonstrate an exceptional level of ingenuity, exceeding standard human tactical predictions, it noted. Jaren smirked. Thanks, Core, but you just follow my lead. The turning point. Hours into the battle, the flagship of the corporation took a direct hit from one of the station's automated orbital drones. It was damaged, engines partially disabled, and communications disrupted. The corporation had spent years building this fleet, yet a single human, armed with brains, courage, and an ancient station, was dictating the flow of battle. Boarding pods continued to arrive, but their numbers dwindled as each trap claimed another group. Soldiers moved cautiously, unsure of where the next hazard would appear. Jaren exploited this hesitation, guiding drones to flank and disable key units. The first captain to breach the control deck tried to force a door, only to trigger a defensive protocol that locked him in a corridor with non-lethal but immobilizing energy nets. He pounded on the controls, yelling, but it was too late. Jaren had anticipated every standard tactic and prepared for each contingency. The corporate fleet's confidence began to crumble. They had the numbers, but humans had unpredictability. Humans had creativity. Humans had Jaren, the revelation of the Starport's legacy. As the battle raged, Jaren accessed the deepest logs of the Starport. They revealed that this station was built by humans centuries ago, during a time when the galaxy considered humanity insignificant. The engineers had designed it to withstand sieges, hide fleets, and endure without support. They had built hidden corridors, automated drones, and advanced sensors, anticipating the day when humans would need it again. Reading the logs, Jaren realized the Starport itself had been waiting for a human operator who could understand its systems and strategies. He felt a strange kinship with the people who had designed this station long ago. Their ingenuity had survived through time, now embodied in him. This station, it's part of us, Jaren murmured. It was built for humans by humans. We just needed to prove we were still worthy. Core hummed in agreement. Affirmative. The station's defensive algorithms are optimized for human tactical thinking. Retrieval forces are at severe disadvantage due to this factor. Jaren's confidence surged. The corporation could throw everything at him, but they could not predict human adaptability. The final battle. The corporation, desperate, attempted a full assault on the station's main control hub. Their heaviest ships fired energy beams, attempting to disable the station's core. Jaren activated emergency shields and redirected power from secondary systems to maintain energy levels. Cargo pods were launched en masse to distract sensors. Hidden drones emerged from maintenance hangars, swarming attackers. Every move was precise. Every decision leveraged human ingenuity. Even without advanced military training, Jaren's experience in farming, the patience, observation, and resourcefulness had prepared him in ways the corporation could not understand. One by one, the enemy ships were disabled or forced to retreat. Their soldiers, trapped in corridors or neutralized by drones, had no choice but to surrender. Jaren had taken a simple, abandoned starport and turned it into a fortress that had outsmarted an entire fleet. The HFY moment. When the last ship of the corporate fleet pulled away, retreating to repair its damaged vessels, Jaren stood in the control deck, breathing heavily but smiling. The station had survived. He had survived. And the galaxy had witnessed something extraordinary. A human, underestimated and alone, had bested one of the most powerful corporations in the Outer Rim. For decades, humans had been dismissed as weak, insignificant, and incapable of leading. Yet here was proof to the contrary. The galaxy had seen a display of resourcefulness, courage, and intelligence that no machine, army, or alien could fully predict. Jaren looked out at the stars, feeling pride swelling in his chest. "Humans, we are stronger than they think," he said softly. "They never see it coming," Kor responded, lights flickering in approval. "Indeed, human creativity and adaptability continue to exceed known expectations. The galaxy should take notice." And for the first time, Jaren realized that his life as a farmer had not been ordinary at all. Farming had taught him observation, patience, and problem-solving, the same qualities that now allowed him to command a starport, outthink a fleet, and survive against impossible odds. Resolution and legacy in the weeks that followed, the starport became a hub for independent traders, explorers, and humans seeking a foothold in the Outer Rim. Word spread across nearby systems of the farmer who had defended the station alone, and of the human ingenuity that had defeated a corporate fleet. Jaren accepted requests for docking and trade, but he remained cautious. The station was his responsibility, a living legacy of humans' forgotten brilliance. Traders whispered tales of his cleverness, and other humans began to see their own potential in his story. One day, a young trader asked, "How did you do it? How did one man stop all of them?" Jaren smiled faintly. "We adapt, we think. We never give up, that's what humans do. We may not be the strongest, the fastest, or the biggest, but no one outsmarts us when we put our minds to it." The trader nodded, understanding. The legend of Jaren Tallow, the farmer who inherited an abandoned starport and defended it with nothing but brains, courage, and human ingenuity, began to spread. And as he stood in the control tower, watching ships come and go, Jaren felt something he had never felt on the quiet plains of Kessara. The galaxy had become a little bigger, a little more alive, and a little more aware of the underestimated power of humanity. The stars outside the viewport shimmered, reflecting the quiet truth that humans, though often overlooked, were clever, resilient, and capable of shaping destiny itself. And somewhere deep in the station's circuits, Kor whispered softly, "We were waiting for you." "Together we have shown the galaxy the strength of humans," Jaren smiled. "Yes, Kor, we did, and we're just getting started." The abandoned starport, once forgotten, was alive again, and so was the reminder that humans, no matter how small or underestimated, could always surprise the galaxy.